All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm Ben, and it's our 71st episode of the podcast. We're going to talk about Grendel Volume 2, number 22. The Devil is Hormonal. It's the third of 4 incubation year issues. Hell is for children, Eli.
Hell is for children. What a day. What a week. What you been up to this week, Ben?
I am toning Arcane number 3. Once that's done, I'm going to jump into penciling Oh Fuck Why number 3.
Oh, dubs.
I have lined up a very large, sizably large, like film storyboard and animation project.
Wow.
That is I'm going to have to start it probably before Oh Fuck Why. Do not know how to use After Effects to animate, and I haven't animated since college, but these guys like me, and they're paying me enough that I should be training myself to get the work done. So
right, I think you'll figure it out. You seem to be figuring it out pretty fast.
I've also been putting together, continue to work on my art book. I have no idea what kind of format it's going to take. So I've been sort of posting some art from the last 15 to 20 years, just kind of catch the temperature with people who want to put their eyes on it. And I am pleased with the response so far. So sorry for the confusion. 20 years in New York will be coming one day.
That's the title of it. Sorry for the confusion. Love it. I love that, man.
That's my father's title.
It's great.
He's been telling me that that's the name of the book since I was 15. I want to give you a big congratulations. You did something that you've never done in the interim, which is you have your first successful crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, that's right. Yes, along with a crew of insanely talented artists and writers. Rocco Jerome wrote this book called Ghost Agents, and we got art by Chris Anderson, Ben Perkins, cover by Samuel J. Royale, and Barry Tan, Wunderkind Barry Tan is coming on board. He's absolutely insane. Look at this.
As seen in Love and Grendel's.
Oh yeah, as seen in Love and Grendel's. Yeah, he did the pinup. He did the Devil in Detail pinup, and I mean, he is Kirby-esque as hell. I mean, he's beautifully Kirby-esque in a way that somehow elevates it to this new level, and yet is reverent to its.
Did you see his baby celestial that he posted today?
Oh my God, it's so good. Look,
I think that image says it all. Yeah,
it's so good. God, shout out Barry. He says he's always listening to us while he's drawing and while he's working. So major shout out Barry right here.
He's in Singapore, I believe.
He's in Singapore, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So anyway, not to downplay Barry. Congrats, Barry. Congrats, Eli, Ben, Sam, Rocco. You guys made that goal in less than a week. That must have been a really cool feeling.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we're working on more stretch goals and working on other stuff to get it going. So it's going to only get better. And there's about 15 days left, 12 days left. There's about half a month left on it.
Cool. Nice. The rest is gravy. Yeah,
man. And continuing with my week, I guess, if you're completed, if that was your congratulatory segue.
Yes.
My week was mostly dominated by a return to live music, which is something I hadn't done too much of. On Thursday, I saw Stuart Copeland The Police Deranged for Orchestra, which is Stuart Copeland wrote all these compositions, turned all these Police songs into orchestral compositions with a 30-piece orchestra and a bass player, a guitar player, 3 singers.
Have no faith in Constitution. There's no bloody revolution. Our spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world. Our spirits in the material world.
It was absolutely amazing. Stuart Copeland is one of the
He was their
best
drummer,
drummers.
right?
He was their drummer, yes.
As seen in Oysterhead.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, that's why I went. I was hoping for an Oysterhead, but he didn't do it.
All right, so
but I did meet
show number 1.
Right. I did meet an older couple at set break, and they hadn't heard of Oysterhead, so I was happy to share that knowledge with them. That was show number 1. Friday, man, me and Manus and I bought a bunch of comics from a storage unit. And we found absolute fire in this thing, dude. Not only was this dude was a Zappa collector, and we met him through the like Zappa community, and he had all these Zappa posters ranging from like 7 feet tall to like
crazy
to ads to like I bought like the Ralph Steadman cover from his Are You Offended album, like a real big version, and then this poster that was like half Jerry Garcia's face, half Frank Zappa's face from this concert that they played together for 2 nights.
Dude, this lot we got is insane today.
What's this? Dude. Insane. Oh. This is coming your way.
Tons of amazing stuff.
Oh my god. And then we got all these comics, like we haven't even gone through them all, but I think there's like a full run of the original Tick. There's like there's H.R. Geiger's Necronomicon, which is like a zine that is like humongous and seemingly is signed by Salvador Dali. They seem like they all came with this like Salvador Dali signature inside.
Okay.
I need to do more research to figure this out.
That's a big ticket item though.
It's humongous. Yeah. And also we got I think it's Warrior Magazine #1 that features the first appearance of V for Vendetta. That was like another of the books we found.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
And Marvel Man, I think that there's like a first Miracle Marvel Man kind of.
Really?
That's what I saw when I looked on.
We need to look through it. And Manus got a whole crate of these like carnal comics, like porn star comics that have a retail value of about $20 per piece.
There you go.
And so, and then that night we went on Whatnot, which is this sales app. And I turned what I deemed my closet trash, which was like my mid 2000s Marvel box, into $550. Sold it up. Absolutely insane.
Awesome.
And then Wednesday, I went to see Ween with Tanisha and my cousin Dylan. And, oh my God, it was absolutely amazing. Met up with a huge crew of zine, Ween board people, sold a couple of Ween zines, saw the show. My only regret is that I barely remember any of the show.
Yeah.
But such is life. Such is Ween.
Such is life.
All right. Such is Grendel. Let's remember these incubation years. Let's take it to the theme.
Two in the box, ready to go. Maybe fast, maybe slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for the great theme song again, Manus and Laserdisc.
Better every time.
It's funny too, because we've been working through the series, and we started the series, and we talk about Orion, Asante, in the theme and everything, and we're like getting closer and closer to where like I can actually edit Orion into the intro when he says
we'll have Orion in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Yep. All right, so we pick up here. We are
talking about Ron Turner.
Let's get on Ronnie, because
I feel like they just said do whatever you want to.
Right, and Diana talks about it in the letter column at the end a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, speaking of texture, Charlie, what do you think of Ron Turner's cover in this issue? The open box on the back cover was actually glued onto the original art, and Ron constructed all the wonky little stuff inside of it, including one very funky 3-dimensional fly. Oh, and Miss Tamblyn, both Ken Stacy and Ron Turner are Canadians too. Okay, I didn't need to read the last part because the letter writer was Canadian, but
there's all kinds of Canadians in this issue.
Yeah, dude. Okay, yeah, so that's amazing. The 3-dimensional fly, where's that?
That I couldn't see.
It's in a little box like midway through on the left side, like midway up below the like skeleton.
It's so strange.
Thanks.
There's like a Lon Chaney Jr. Phantom of the Opera thing. It's a post-apocalyptic hellscape, and this is very fitting.
Yeah.
But like,
oh, I see. Phantom. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's these like Henry Darger like little children down here. hell is for children.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's and there's a little baggie of drugs and a little action figure. It's crazy. Oh, and then there's a Descendants logo also
What? Where?
in the up top right above the Lon Chaney.
Oh, wow.
I don't even know who the Descendants are. I just know that
You
logo.
just know the logo.
I know that logo. It's all over the place.
And they have one little tab here of like the Grendel equals love, like from the
Mhm.
inside, which is an interesting.
Do you mind if I read Matt's remarks from the back issue magazine? This is from the interview by Michael Yuri or whatever his name is.
Yeah, let's read
And
it.
in so many words, Matt says it seems like Matt was not super satisfied with this in hindsight, but it sounds like that has a lot to do with his reaction to reader response. Just people not understanding there's no Grendel, where's Grendel, and I think that being a little frustrating. But these issues that we've read so far are really good.
Yeah, I agree.
They're really different and they're really strong. All right, so this guy Powers. His name's not Yuri, it's Powers. This guy says, how does language function in the following issue 21, which depicts the United States or Soviet Union corporate instigated nuclear apocalypse, and 22, which shows two star-crossed lovers and warring gangs who fight for oil. We'll talk about the fight for oil later because it's a very strange aspect of the story. Matt says, I was attempting something really ambitious with this 4-issue arc, and I'll be the first to admit that in this instance, perhaps my reach exceeded my grasp. I knew my ultimate goal was to transform Grendel into a worldwide phenomenon, and in the process, turn the entire identity's perception upside down. What had begun as a name of an infamous crime lord would eventually become a term of a military rank of the highest honor. And to get there, it all had to be believable. I had to go through a lot of societal change in my narrative. Thus, in the course of only 4 issues and leapfrogging quite a few years of story time with every turn, I tried to show how Grendel went from being a personal vision to a corporate property to a tribal identity to a religious icon. I think he's quite successful in doing that. The language and dialogue balloons attempted to help define this transition in a manner that, again, I'll admit, wasn't always completely successful. You're too humble. It works really fucking well.
I think it does too.
It really does. And it's unique, and there's a lot of things that Bob P is doing that help sell it. But my aim was to show society slowly breaking down as reflected by how language was deteriorating, becoming progressively simpler and less sophisticated. In this increasingly dark future, communication is increasingly reduced to single words and simple phrases, pictograms, slogans, doggerel, and ad jingles. What we've since come to call sound bites and memes. It was maybe a bit too theoretical, and it cost me a number of readers in the long run. Fuck them. Additionally, we had no active Grendel in costume in these 4 issues, and that made this arc something of a hard sell as well. But that's part of the creative process. Sometimes shoot for the stars and only make it as far as the moon.
Wow.
Sure, that's a very humble way to reflect. I think that these issues are fine, but what they do on the macro level to get us to God and the devil,
Oh yeah.
like
We
he
have
says,
to have them.
that's the aim. Successful. I'll stop talking.
Agreed. Hey, before we move on, I just want to shout out this t-shirt. Shout out Ben Perkins. I made this one-of-a-kind t-shirt. It's only for me. No one can buy it or anything. I just made it, but pretty cool.
There you go.
Good.
Well done. Well done. And round 2 went out to their homes.
So far, yeah, we still have some left. So
there you go.
Again, if you want to get the Love and Grendel's promo zine, leave a 5-star review. I'm sure we have some to go over today. If you want to go over get some shout outs going on. Let's do it.
Sure.
All right, we'll pause here for a second. Dang, I messed up the order there, but it's okay. Let's see what these motherfuckers said.
I can never find it. I don't know how to access them.
What?
Yeah, I can't find it.
You just go to the Devil in Detail on the podcast app.
Yeah, I try to do that. It doesn't always, or maybe I don't know.
Then you tap the thing, you scroll to the bottom, and it'll show ratings and reviews, and you hit see all.
That should be easy.
All right, so here's some of the reviews. So I want to send a shout out to Scantron. Awesome. We all used those Scantrons back in the day. Scantron says, this pod is so good. Eli and Ben are really good at making comics fun. They mine the hidden gem of Grendel comics and keep us up to date on their own comic book projects as well. Vivat Grendel.
Well, you know, the secret is that comics are already really fun. We don't have anything to do with that.
Shout out to Stone Pod. Reading Matt Wagner's Grendel is watching a legendary comic creator's skill develop in front of your eyes. Absolutely true.
For sure.
What seemed like a one and done story by a writer/artist became an epic of collaboration, experimenting, and showing why comics are an amazing storytelling medium. Love that Eli and Ben are digging deep and with the creators themselves. Grab your omnibuses and get started. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Shout out to the great Poptronic Grooves, a glorious comprehensive podcast, he titled it.
Well, that's definitely a sock puppet account for you, right? This is
Poptronic Grooves.
Yeah.
GPG. Matt Wagner's legendary creation discussed in detail with love, passion, and intelligence. It's amazing to revisit the early tales and hear how they came to be from the very creators who brought them into the world. Great hosts, deep dives into a rich mythology. Vivat Grendel.
Thank you.
And JPA Apple Store, shout out, said, God is in the details. Ludwig van Beethoven. I can't see the
JPA Apple Store. He's all over the place. He's always sending you reviews.
He really is. He's the
last
Apple
step
Store.
he was there too.
Last step he was? Oh, okay. So I don't need to read this again. Two comic creators and dedicated readers provide a comprehensive overview of Matt Wagner's seminal series. Hell yeah. Okay, so I read that one last week. Anyway,
they're all getting
thanks
zines.
to everyone for sending out all the zines. If you want a zine, leave that 5-star review, send me a photo, and then follow us on Instagram at Grendelcast. And then just email me at eli@cosmiclionproductions.com, and I'll send you a zine out. That's simple.
That's nice.
All right, let's get into the book.
Let's get into this.
Things begin with a clang.
Have you noticed that all the issues of incubation years open up with a splash page of a group in calamity just before the ending of the issue?
Wow. You know, you told me that, and I didn't realize it until right now that this was it happened again here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it's not immediately obvious, and it's almost not obvious until the very end of the story.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I guess, how, storytelling works.
Yeah, and also the captions and all of these, it's like the character, it's like the POV character speaking, but also there's like maybe there's a little bit of Grendel kind of finding its way in there.
Yeah, in there, yeah.
There were two things that I thought about on this splash page, and the first is Jack Kirby. This guy with
the eye patch. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a dingbat.
Yeah, he's totally a dingbat. And then there's this like on the other side of her, this very Kirby-esque face. And then it also reminded me of that book. It's a European book called German Maya, which I think was turned into a TV show.
Huh.
Just in Joe Matt's coloring here, it's like very like earth tones and European. And this entire issue, the art team, Tim and Hannibal, are just like, it's completely different from the other issues.
Yeah, agreed. And I really start to see some Tim come through even stronger, like especially in the faces and eyelashes, eye shapes. I'm really seeing it.
Matt says in that interview that they really weren't a great fit, but scheduling wise, it sort of had to happen, and then it wasn't a great fit. Hannibal made the deadlines, but he was going through it at the time and like moving cross country, and
oh dang,
it's just like, by the time, like when we get to the next issue, which is all Tim, it's just like the art like goes to the roof. It's crazy.
Love it. Can't wait.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of she's kind of just like painting the picture. What's her name again? Ivy?
Her name is Ivy Cyanide. And I took a post-it upstairs of all the names and gangs and stuff like that, but I left it upstairs. So
man. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff established.
Hopefully they're up here.
A lot of stuff established. And they're really building this post-apocalyptic, gang-ridden wasteland world. This takes place in Washington, D.C. And, last issue we saw Washington, D.C. get blown up, basically. Blown to shreds.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really clear how much time has passed between now and then. I think you could guess anywhere from 50 to 150 years, something.
Yeah, you'd think
something like
enough
that.
for things to go from this like media driven world, almost similar to our own, very media driven, to this like post-apocalyptic warriors type of
Yeah,
yeah, Mad
Warriors,
Max.
Mad Max, and a little bit of a boy and his dog.
Yeah.
For my money.
Right. And I was thinking some of these Ken Landgraf Outlaws of New York City, or his new Apocalypse 5000 book that came out, similar feels of this like post-apocalyptic where you kind of come into this world that's established, and you're getting these clues as to the hierarchy of the world through.
Yeah, you've always talked about basically wanting this setting, wanting Grendel gangs running around. I think what's interesting here is that there is a Grendel gang, but they're competing with at least 4 or 5 other tribes that are of like teenagers that are just trying to find their way in the world.
But that they each have different like
shticks.
Shticks,
Yeah.
or like, but it's less like how the different gangs in like Clockwork Orange just kind of like wear different hats or something like that. Like these guys wear bowlers, these guys
It's like
wear top
societal
hats.
roles.
Right. It's exactly like these guys are the welders or something. And this is the oil barons, and these are the artists or whatever. Yeah. All right, on the next page, we're just kind of getting it delved in a little bit more to like this life, kind of just basically what we were talking about. These pictographs, these simple images.
Yeah, everything is food.
Right, and it's interesting. This is like a crossroad of like comics and like if this is a movie playing in your head, like what is being said when we're seeing pictographs like in this world, like
right. Well, it could be that they are saying these words which are all in rhyme, or that they're saying that's the gist of what they're saying, and what they could be saying is even more abstracted and like post-apocalyptically colloquial.
Right. Well, I do
but
see
we wouldn't understand it,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do see that in the pictographs, it's always the bubbles, so it's a thought.
Oh,
it's not
interesting.
necessarily a word.
Right, because some of them are speaking and some of the things. So we meet the Raunch Hands, which is an amazing name for a gang.
Yes. You sure you don't want to run upstairs and grab that post-it? It seems like
it's all important. I got it in my head.
You got it in there? Okay, good.
Yeah. So Cyanide Ivy is the sister of the Raunch Hands leader, whose name is Poison Oak, and they have migrated on foot, it would seem. I'm not sure. It seems like they migrate on foot from New York to DC because there's like these gladiatorial games on Die Day where you can basically put in a bid to become the oil baron, to become the person who's in charge of the oil. Now, the world has switched over to solar power. So everyone that has a good plan is going out to California.
Right. Where the sun shines all day and it's warm and you don't need the oil.
So that component of the story is you just sort of supposed to take it for granted. There's never a scene. There's exactly one vehicle that gets used, and it's on this spread. But there's no like Mad Max, like let's get in the cars and So it's kind of vague exactly how it works, but there are rules to the society, and it's basically that you can't. If you have a beef, it has to get dealt with in the arena, just like in Devil's Odyssey.
Right. Wow.
Like there's a part where like 2 people are angry at each other. They should tear each other apart, but they know that it will have to wait until.
They'll wait for Interesting. Wow. Nice shout out there.
Thanks.
And yeah, I think like as you're saying, you only do see the one vehicle really, and it looks like an ATV or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
And there's some trucks here, kind of at the bottom of the page.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Or they're it's all busted out. So there is a Grendel gang. They're called the Forks, Forx. And the other gangs, there's the Silos, who are the mechanics.
The next page. Yep. Okay.
And there's the tank. I think it's called tank rammers.
Tank rammers. Yep. And then the tube stakes. And on the fringes, the folks.
Yeah. Joe does a really nice job being subtle on this first big panel because it's all muted grays and blues and stuff.
Mhm.
And then there's a little bit of red. And then cyanide and poison are the only ones that have like real color besides like some of these Forks Grendel armbands.
Right.
It's cool.
And yeah, and it's cool. I like the way that they speak and that the way the like dialogue is done. It's like kind of rhyming. It really is like all you need to really understand, like, you know, these lives, there's not a ton going on. I mean, they're not, you know, talking about deep subjects, religion or nuclear physics or anything. There's not much that evolved language needs to get across anyway. So like their world is enough description with these little things, you know.
It's hedonism in the face of survivalism.
Right. And so at the bottom here, he sees these, you know, girls, and they call them jisms. Like here's some of the jisms, which are like basically the prostitutes.
You see that they're the tails of their high balloon is a dollar sign. The girls say hi.
Oh yes, I do. Oh yes, I do.
The tails are dollar signs.
I feel like that girl in front is very much Tim Sale, like almost to the point where, like, I mean, he drew that face completely. Like there, you know, maybe wasn't a ton of pencils there for him to go over, but that is like very Tim Sale-y to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, there's a lot of places where the cartooning is really good, and some places where it's like maybe not working out so great. I think that mostly Joe is just like bailing everybody out. With not a lot of colors, but like look at this one on page 2 with when they're the camera's low to the ground with a truck with a Grendel on it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Joe's sunset is phenomenal.
Beautiful. There. Yeah, that panel's
nice
awesome.
airbrush.
Yeah, and so I mean, the younger sister, Ivy, is like kind of like now pissed. She's never seen him embrace anyone, not even your mother, not even their mother. So you think they're actual brother and sister, or they kind of just like came up together?
I think they are biological brother and sister. And there's some stuff in this story that like dredged up some of my own stuff. I have a wonderful relationship with my wonderful sister, but there was like I was in situations like this when we were coming up. It wasn't great.
Dang.
Yeah.
She was, how close in age is she to you?
She's 3 years younger than me, which is exactly how old these characters.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So she's 3 years younger. She's a psychologist. She's a wonderful lady.
Right. So you were able to talk about it now.
Yeah.
All right. Great. All right. Next page. So and this next page, this next spread is the first of many like it in this book. They're action packed. They have like a centralized piece of action with movement all around it. It's
every time they go to the Day Arena.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's how these are structured. That there's the central thing you mentioned, and then either it will like make an arc or a U shape in panels. And it was one of those places where like it really isn't important which you read first. You have to scan and read and just kind of take it all in at once.
Exactly. Yeah. And it mostly all works. So they're at the Day Arena. They're watching like the first of many matches. Versus like this guy's got a NASA jock strap on, and the other guy's got like he looks like a punk rock dude. So they're about to battle it out. And during all this, Ivy catches the eye of a let's see, what do they call him?
He's a fork.
He's a fork, right? The two people who are battling are a silo and a tube steak. I like that name. It's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so she catches his eye, as they're both kind of like watching the battle, watching the fight go on and stuff, and staring back at you. And so it kind of like arouses these feelings in her that, growing up in this post-apocalyptic world, she hasn't even maybe had time for yet.
Right? Yeah, it's funny. The title is The Devil is Hormonal. And it's just like when you're that age, it's just like, it doesn't really matter what else is going on in the world. You're just kind of like locked in on your shit.
You're ready to go. All right, next page. She kind of wakes up and she's reflecting on the battle. She's reflecting on these feelings that she got from this other dude as she looks over and sees her brother just passed out with the jism or whatever they're called. And it doesn't make her very happy at all. And
Yeah,
she's just
so
like,
we-
"Come out of here."
Yeah, Oak was the leader though, and he wouldn't take talk of Forks any too well. Forks wanted nothing but to destroy the remaining oil. Forks said this life sucked. Screw it. Give it all up to Grendel.
And she starts walking on her own, and then, oh my gosh, there's another whole gang there who are kind of like, "Oh, look at you, slick chick, a bone alone, a bone."
These are silos.
These are silos, yeah, because they're working. They always smell like grease.
Yeah, they're mechanics.
Your knees got weak, and they're like, a little small, aren't we? And then we hear from off the oh no, okay, so not till next page. Next page, they're kind of about to face off, and then we hear from off screen, "Leave her alone," type of thing, and it's like, easy, sleazy, bad choice, hear the voice. This could almost be a musical. You could like make a musical of this.
Yeah.
Because everything rhymes so perfectly.
It's like West Side Story.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like West Side Story.
It really is. I like his outfit, dude.
I do too.
It reminds me of somebody, but it's like original. It's still original.
He reminds me of
Fluffy
his name rhymes with Bunter Hose.
Does he remind you of someone with the name rhyming with Bunter Hose?
I sort of wished he had the pigment patch throughout this, but I guess it works better.
That was like a little too close.
His like furry shoulder pads are
I love it.
So cool. And then
His
like
Grendel sidearm, his patch, and
totally Orion.
Right. Or you mean Hunter, or say
a little bit of both, right? Because like
yeah.
Orion's guys like have that kind of military insignia. Yeah, he does.
And he's got like a handheld fork too, which is very cool.
What I really liked about his lettering is that he said he has these 5 things that you mentioned, but behind them is another balloon.
How you mean?
So there's a white space that sort of hits across his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a balloon tail coming out of it on the left side. So it says "or a fork" in orange.
Oh, I kind of see
so
that.
That's my theory is that that's another balloon that's encompassing all of his little fragments. And so it says to me that he's not really saying this. He's saying some like apocalyptic colloquial version of this, right? Because you're just supposed to get the gist of the meaning. The words are not necessarily literally what is being said.
Interesting. There could even be like a patois that's going on too, like a fusion of languages.
Right.
That's awesome. His name was Shiny Fork, and you didn't know, but you might have guessed. He's shown all right. Yeah. And he comes in and he just kind of he gets her free and breaks her out. Man, you had me read that thing, Gray Mouser.
Gray Mouser. Oh, you read that?
I read the first ish. I don't have the rest, but
that's enough.
She reminds me of that girl kind of too. She's like on her own. She's plucky and almost like the art, how she's drawn too. Did
I'm
she
not
have
sure
those
what you're
freckles
talking
like
about.
that? Okay, I must be not thinking right, but
maybe something else. But I love that you're talking about Fat from the Gray Mouser on this show.
Right. Okay.
There's so behind his bandana ties, this silo has a balloon that's obscured.
Yeah.
He's saying Grendel. And there's a lot of places in this book where things are being, as we call them, patches, right? Where the artwork and the lettering is sort of integrated into one. And you don't need to see the entire word in order to figure out what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I got it. This is like my absolute favorite thing that I've been getting out of the last several episodes is that kind of technique. I think it's such a sophisticated way to merge the image and put this together.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But like, he really is like kind of our Grendel in this one.
I mean, for intents and purposes, he sure is.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in mask, but he's got the red eyes and everything. But there's a lot of people with red eyes, and I think what it's saying is that whether you identify as Grendel or not, aggression rules everything around us.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, he doesn't want anything. He just says, they were gonna jam you up or worse. Get out of here.
Yeah, he's like, get out of here, go free. Yeah, I'm fine.
Nice. Very nice.
Next page. Actually, let's hit up this ad real quick. Blood
Blood
Scent, a
Scent.
tale of modern horror terror, with an introduction by FX wizard Tom Savini and a 5-page backup feature by Bernie Moreau.
Of fish sticks backup fame. Bernie
Yeah,
Moreau?
exactly. Yeah, I feel like every issue we're learning more and more about stuff Bernie did.
When I started seeing these ads a few issues ago, I said, I don't think this book ever came out. And then our friend MFT Michael Fitzgerald Troy did a video on this issue and said
Really?
it was amazing. Yeah, like 2 weeks
shit.
ago.
Okay, we got to get
And then
it then.
yeah, and then Shrek also posted about it like in the last 3 days.
Wow.
So there you go.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, we gotta seek this out.
Michael
We
said
should-
he said it was awesome.
Yeah, we should
Like,
start.
really
We need
good.
to start our side Kamiko cast.
Yeah.
The Kamiko cast, and just cover all these books on the off
Fish
weeks or
Police.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Hey, follow us over on our Patreon, where we have our side cast, the Kamiko cast.
I've been
just
sort
kidding,
of
but-
toying with doing some kind of project about 90s valiants during the shooter era.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
That is another podcast to not do. Okay.
All right. So now here we get back, and she comes back to her brother. She kind of like starts telling him about what happened, and he's just like, he smacks her about. He's like,
It's that same
bone?"
technique I was talking about where the caption overlaps the single word balloons, and it doesn't matter. Silos attack, right?
Yeah.
You can read it. You don't need to see it to know what she's
Right.
saying.
And if the fork saved her or whatever.
Mhm.
Right. So he's like, "What? Alone? You bone? Never, ever."
Right.
Smashes her down a couple times.
He hates the forks, and just the thought that she would have anything to do with them is awful. And he assumes that it was, was coupling when all he did was help her out.
Help her out and then send her on her way.
And he spazzes the fuck out.
Toil, foil, oil, vibe, try, braunch, staunch.
Right. We're strong in our beliefs that oil is power. Grendels are nihilists. Like, this is who we are. This is the Capulets and Montagues.
Yeah, exactly. This is who we are.
Yeah. All right.
And so then she kind of like is like, I'm on my way out of here. She just like she goes off again. She needs her space, and until she feels a hand on her shoulder again.
Yeah. She assumes it's the silos coming to jam her up because that's the wrench.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But then we get another one of these amazing spreads.
Yeah. So the first one I think was all square arcs, and this
Right, it
one's
was.
sort of more. So it's
Archway or something.
yeah, in the center, it's is that her brother fighting? Yeah.
Seems like it. Yeah.
That's-
He always
that's
has the
Oak.
face thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Poison Oak fighting one of these guys. Meanwhile, she meets back up with Shiny Fork, and they get it on. Okay.
Yeah. And in the distance, you can hear the fighting. Like she could hear the fighting, but like we said, none of it registers to her because she's like, in mid copulation.
Both were hot, both were dangerous, and finally, both were a diagonal incision in red. Okay,
I'm glad you read that. Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
So anyway,
And next page. Yeah. They continue.
they get it on.
And then they're kind of like, he's like, you want to smoke? And she's like, no, I don't smoke. And he's like, okay, I got something that's better for you. Heroin. And she's like, cool, let's do it. That sounds
Yeah.
nice.
So I was confused because is it in God and the Devil where Grendel is a drug as well? Or
I think that's
am I
what Epi
making that up?
Thatcher kind of see
That's what
again.
he's-
It's been a while, so I'm
Yeah.
psyched to get back into it. But I think Epi Thatcher kind of like creates it, and then it grows, and it is much more rampant during the Grendel Tales stuff.
Yeah.
Like
'Cause I-
especially the guy in the desert in Four Devils One Hell who has the white Grendel
Right,
mask.
he's on
he is
Grendel.
like fucking he is crazy on Grendel.
Right.
it's
Because
like-
at first I thought that this story was where Grendel's a drug. And no, they're just taking heroin.
Yeah. But maybe it's like a little more than heroin, and maybe it's on the way towards like the drug that becomes Grendel.
It's a
But,
smooth groove.
Smooth groove, baby. So
Yeah.
they do that, and then they kind of just fall asleep on top
And they
of
fall
each
in
other.
love. Well, she does at least.
Well, yeah. And next page, her thought bubble is her plus Grendel equals love. And I
Yeah.
guess in this thing, that Grendel pictograph represents Shiny Fork.
Right. I think he tells her that love is a bullshit scam.
Yeah, he's like, no, dude, get out of
But
here.
yeah, well, but we can be together, but we're not necessarily like
Yeah, he's like, no shit, let's split.
it's a thing, but it's yeah, no shit, it's a thing, but it's not a thing.
On the top right, panel 1, I feel like that's a super, super Frank Miller-y Sin City type of face there. The eyelashes and the lips form, and just reminds me of
Okay,
Frank
sure,
Miller a lot. In a
yeah,
good way.
sure, in a good way. Yeah.
Ah, man. So then, okay, they're on their way out, and then this blind person trips and falls over the thing, and then
He's
it's
from
kind of
the Bico gang, and they're the self-styled mystics and healers, apparently.
named after Steve Biko or whatever. That was real big around that time.
That must be it. He
Yeah.
trips over a fire hydrant, and
Yeah.
she helps him up.
On
And
the next page, yeah, it's like, oh
yeah.
man, and he's just like,
the
what the hell?
Grendels don't believe in God. The Bicos talk about God. It seems like everybody else has like some sort of religious belief, but the Grendels don't, because all they believe in is Grendel and nihilism and
Yeah,
destruction.
aggression and
Yeah, it's funny because the theme here to me is like how this, it's love conquers all on crack, where it's like we live in this like horrible scenario where we're just trying to survive, and suddenly here's a glimmer of hope and goodness and something that you can actually, like, we've seen prostitution coupling, and this is like the seeds of real love. It reminds me of um, Brian and Chris,
Hmm.
and it reminds me of Devil May Care,
Oh,
where the
interesting.
best
Yeah.
where love is the best revenge on a world that worships hate.
Love is the best revenge.
There you go.
Love is my religion. So she helps him
Anyway.
up, and he's just kind of like mystic pistic. It's just all the same. Inward and outward, just looking for fame. And then she's like, don't worry, baby. And then they embrace. And who do we see around the corner? Bro.
Poison Oak. Yeah.
Poison freaking Oak. Next page, another great spread, man. And this is the actual centerfold here. Saw you with him, you hot little Quim. He's a fork, stupid dork. This could be like directed by the guy who did Hamilton. This could be like a Hamilton style hip hop musical.
Oh,
dude.
Lin-Manuel
Miranda. Yeah,
There you go.
this is great. I love this. Okay, so then, well, I don't love the action here, but so she's like, or her brother is like confronting him, and she's like, Grendel is love, and he's like, what? And I mean, they begin fighting, and they smashing around until, in the arena, Shiny's friend Jagged was fighting a Silo. Jagged was tough. The Silo didn't stand a chance. Oh, that's not him. That's just like, again,
That's
like
another
you
fight.
said,
That's
every
another
time they're
Daigou
in the arena, you see
Yeah.
it in the spread.
Poison Oak smacks her, and then he's immediately regretful, and
sorry.
he's I'll never do it again, and blah blah blah. And she's
Uh-huh.
already checked out. Joe Matt does a really nice job here with the airbrush, because when you go around the arc, you can see it kind of lightens up on the
Oh,
inside,
yeah.
and it's dark red on the outside.
Mhm.
Nice use of Frisket, Joe.
Love it. Frisket, a Trisket. Get a brisket. Oh,
right.
I just slipped a disket. All right. Good stuff. All right. So on the next
So
page.
he says, "Don't go back," and then it cuts to the next night was even better.
Yeah. The next night I went back. And now the next night was just as special. And she's coming back. And that's when Poison Oak sees her again. And he's like, dude. And he's like, oh, what the hey? Fresh air. And he's like, that's not why. And he laces into her, bang and bang and bang. The back of your head throbbed and your eyes burned.
I just watched Gladiator, Ridley Scott.
Absolutely one of my all-time favorite movies.
I saw it for the second time. The first time I was in middle school. I like the first hour, and then it kind of drags. But there's a lot of what's going on in this
Yeah.
is in
that Joaquin
story.
does. Honestly, I think Joaquin in that
crazy.
is one of the best villains in film.
Yeah.
As that, I know this is like a terrible line, but this always got us, and we used to say it all the time as I ravaged her again and again and again, like that. In that moment, he is absolutely the most insane.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And when he grabs his sister and they're like laying on the bed,
Mhm.
shit. Everyone go out and watch Gladiator. It's so good.
I
There's
love
a
this
director's
panel one.
cut too. You should
Oh,
check that
really?
out. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
good.
it's funny. I found that remember seeing it. It was came out, I was like 7th or 8th grade. And I remember seeing it, and there's a point where it stops being particularly compelling for me.
It changes from one type of film to another, I feel like, too.
Yeah, and then
Once he
but,
actually
like,
becomes a gladiator, there was like a chase movie, a lost movie, then like a gladiator film, and then like a redemption tale. I don't know. Pretty.
yeah. Well, it's just like I find myself just like waiting for the next arena fight,
Oh, really?
like for the second half of the movie. Like, all right, we're gonna get back in the Coliseum or what?
Proximo.
Proximo. I love this first panel of her yawning. It's so European comics.
It's great.
Joe Matt kills it. The cartooning is really nice. She's got some her armpit hairs on display. Very nice.
Very cool. Yeah, and we go to the next page, and she's like not taking it anymore.
Yep.
She nails him right in the junk, and she takes off. She runs out.
Yeah,
until
look at
she
his
finds her
look
man.
at his glyph hiding behind her knee.
Oh, right. That's probably like his testicles. It is his balls. It's balls.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's like, ugh. And okay, yeah. So then she sobs and she runs away, and she finds him there sleeping, and she busts in, and he's like, cyanide, run, hide, hob, oak, hit, crazy sob.
Screw the oil, screw it all. So I sort of feel like the oil is so just like the specifics of what's going on kind of reduces the oil to a MacGuffin instead of like
Right.
an
A
element.
compelling.
Yeah,
plot
it's something
point.
that like works as a component in the story engine.
It's something that you would take the time to develop if you had more than an issue.
Absolutely.
Right.
But it's also the kind of thing where like you're always talking about you wanting this setting.
yeah.
And this is kind of like proto of the post Orion Grendel the
gangs
tribal
and-
stuff. Yeah, the gang stuff.
Yeah.
So you you could always tell another story. You could, Matt, you could always tell another story in this setting.
Matt, you can always hire me and Ben to
But
edit.
there are, the thing is, there are stories in this setting that are going to come. So it's not like, oh, what could have been, because we've got all those tales.
Yeah.
All right, great.
All right, so next page, we're on to page 18 for those following home. Oh, and we get this great Love and Rockets ad. This is nice. Quote by Alan Moore: "I would rank Love and Rockets amongst the best writing probably in any medium. I never miss an issue in any medium."
Any medium.
Oh.
I have not read enough Love and Rockets. I read probably, I would say, 200 pages worth of Love and Rockets. Is that enough to say that I've dabbled?
Yeah, you've dabbled.
I've dabbled. I haven't had the full effect though. So when people say, "Ooh, Death is Speedy," you got to read it. I don't even know who Speedy is. But it's funny.
Was he the heroin junkie?
He's one of the punk guys. I feel like the Gilberto stuff is sort of easier to like jump into blind, because that's what I did. I had some Palomar book that I found for a few bucks. Oh,
try it out.
And that was the first thing I ever read, because I get it. This makes total sense.
It's so different what each brother
right. And
lends to
then
it.
the Jaime stuff is like, in the beginning, it's so dense that it's like it's not just like the Maggie mechanic like letter writing stuff, but it's like you have to be on.
Yeah, you have to be in the mood to read that book.
Yeah, but the Gilbert stuff is much more readable, and I think that's a good balance, because Jaime is like, maybe one of the greatest living cartoonists.
Yeah.
And Gilbert's a great cartoonist.
Yeah,
but
they're
he's not that good.
Right. I mean, take away boobs, and what do you have in his comics? I'm just kidding.
That part is very weird. It's so strange how celebrated it is, considering like how just blatantly boobular it is. Yeah. it's funny.
Bubliocentric, I think is the proper term.
All right.
No, I love it. And it was always one of those books that was there. And even before, like I was in the cartoonist kayfabe scene, which they talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Just as a comic book lover and reader, you just see it and you hear it talked about. It's always like, and growing up in a small town, I didn't feel like I could really find it. I couldn't really get it. But, as I grew more and more, I finally got some and read it and finally got some hooked. That Love and Rockets #2, which is the big Maggie the Mechanic storyline with the dinosaurs and the wrestling and the, spaceships and stuff. That was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It was
Anyway,
when I read oh god, the Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde,
I don't
the
know.
Junot Diaz book,
Don't
where
know that.
he talks about Love and Rockets and like Lord of the Rings and Jack Kirby in that book, and it's just about a nerd growing up like in Spanish Harlem, and I was like, wow, it must be great. I gotta read it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that's it. It's the talk about it is it's built up so much. I think it's worth it.
Well,
Also,
despite your T-shirt, this isn't a Love and Rockets podcast.
You're
It's a
right. Love and
Grendel
Grendel.
podcast. Let's get into Grendel.
All right. So on the next page, he's there and he's like, "What now? Tell me how." And they're like, I think he's asking like, "Do you want me to like beat the shit out of him for you? Want me to
Go out
kill
and
him
get
for
the
you?"
guy. Yeah,
He's like, "Nah, it's my brother. We can't do that." And then what happens?
he just climbs in through
Fast.
the window.
He's right there. Yeah, he followed her. He probably he set her storm up out. He's her older brother. He knows. They stared at each other as if it were the arena, but outside, deaths were forbidden during the games. In the end, Shiny had to let him take you.
Right.
Yep. So they had to like then face off in the octagon.
Yeah.
All right. Next giant, beautiful spread. He kind of grabs her and storms off, and he's like, you bitch. And then we see the battle, which is kind of cool. The other guy's got these like shooters on his chest, and he shoots through the guy with
His nipple
battle.
knives.
His nipple knives.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have any visible weapons
Okay.
at the start of the fight, but then
Right.
you can put your
Whatever's
nipple knives
underneath.
out afterwards. It's very strange. It's very strange.
Let's
This is,
take a moment here to speak on this dude's name.
Bone Fart.
Bone Fart. Uh-huh. Amazing.
It's and every time he speaks previously, because he's one of the raunch hands, all he says is broken bone. That's his
Oh,
glyph.
that's his glyph. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's his glyph. This one right here. And then when he
man.
dies, they say Bone Fart.
Bone Fart. Click, click. Man, the real blow was struck when you got there. All right, on the next page, this is interesting. Just interesting layout of comic, because like here we get the first letters page.
Yeah.
Like, why did they do that? Because they need, like, it's just interesting because they also changed the Kamiko blimp in the hype pages at the end, and I think it's because they wanted to end on a page turn. And so they had to maybe put it in there.
Well, the other issues also had the advertisement pages that had the Shakespeare quotes, and this one doesn't have that.
Oh, that's true, right?
So it's changing up
Mhm.
just a little bit. All right, so we're back with Poison and Ivy, or Poison, Ivy, Cyanide, and Poison Oak. Oh, so there's a little get it.
Got it. I got it.
That's
Okay.
nice. All right, so Oak has a gun, and he's gonna bring the gun
They
to
hadn't seen
the
those
fight.
before. Like, guns are obviously not commonplace any longer, so they're like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god, I never even seen one." And she's like, "Okay, no. I can do something about this. I have a plan."
Yeah, it's crazy how, it seems like it comes from a place of being overly protective, but it just spirals into revenge and lunacy pretty quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
And jealousy, really, jealousy is a major thing here.
Yeah.
All right, next page, man. She runs to him again. She tells him all about the gun, and we got to get it. And she's like, and they're like, okay. They're on the roof. Another beautiful paint job from Joe Matt. Shout out Joe
really
Matt.
nice. Yeah, it looks like he's got some maybe some white, colored pencil on the bottom of those clouds. Something maybe dry. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Looks very cool. Yeah,
Right.
all of his sunsets are tremendous.
I refuse to go down to the wiles of this clown.
Yeah, we're all doomed in the end. They understand that. They're all doomed in the end. She goes, they part ways. She goes back to wherever they're staying. That was sort of interesting to me.
Right. They kind of
everyone has a place. Everyone has a blanket and a mattress for some reason.
somewhere. Yeah, they all have kind of, and it looks like they almost stitched together different pieces.
Yeah,
to
it
have
looks like it's a tent.
a tarp here.
Right. They show all the tents set up on the lawn of the Lincoln Memorial.
Right. And this is funny. So her glyph is money
goes
that
into the ass.
And then they've already established that just sex makes you really hungry. So this lady is dreaming about two turkeys or two chickens on the
Yeah,
spit.
it might also be that like hunger is a survival reality
Is almost
thing.
they're always what they're worried
Yeah, it's like all that they're thinking about, and then all she's thinking about is the fear that her brother is going to shoot
Shoot.
Shiny Fork.
She found his holster.
He left his holster on the ground.
She grabs it, and then we have this next spread, which is a whole new layout. Now the fight is on the top. It's the main thing that's happening, and these panels we actually get the arrows to like let us know exactly how to read, like how we were saying, like before. I don't know if I go here, then here, So, but here, each panel is an arrow to direct you in the action level.
Yeah, and this is so dynamic, and it works better than any of the other ones in this. It just moves so quickly, and then there's the two ones with the sound effect of the gun, I guess, jamming or not going off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
But he doesn't. Yeah, I got a no prize here because panel 3 of the arrows, there's a coloring gaff because that finger is floating. There should be skin behind.
Yeah, I'll send you no prize.
Thank you. Oh yeah. So he tries the gun, but what? It doesn't work. It clicks it and nothing happens. And he clicks again.
His reaction is what clarifies that.
Right. Oh, because
What
like
the
maybe
fuck?
they took the bullets out and put it back, and then he chains him in the face. And
I think maybe it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to, or
right.
something
It's
like
old,
that.
Man.
So the final panel is Oak in fear as the cleats are about to come down on his face.
Yeah. And
was a great spread.
as the inevitable failed, clang, and that's from the beginning. The metal struck flesh and then concrete as her boyfriend kills her brother, stomps his face. As Grendel stomps out what's left of the pathetic East Coast. I'm moving west, sweetie. See you out there.
Right. So that's like that's the Grendel voice. Who's sweetie? Like she's,
Right.
She cries a little Grendel blood. It's kind of
oh my god.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. That's the face. Yeah. Holy shit. Good eye, man.
It sounds like, it says that there's like that sound of concrete on metal. So he put his foot down on the guy so hard that the cleats went through his head. And he like, it's the ultimate curb stomp. Oh
my
gross.
God. Wow.
Cool.
Okay, wow. And then we got a great letters column this week. There's a funny one where this dude is writing in about all this stuff that he doesn't like about Bernie. And, yeah. And how, they won't use the fuck word and all this stuff. And then the next letter in the column is actually like, okay. And then, he wrote back again to be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I get it.
I think that those two letters are a wonderful representation of probably most people's experience. If you read the Panders for a year and you're into it, it's different. You're like, what the fuck is this? And then you read it for 2 issues and go, this is amazing. I can't wait for more of this. And then it changes again.
Right. And to us on the outside, with the foreknowledge to know how long each thing lasts, how long each artist is there, we're like, oh, it's the perfect thing to show changing. But like, if you're reading this comic and you loved Matt's art and you don't get it anymore, you're pissed. You love the Panders art and then all of a sudden you don't get it anymore. It's so different. You're pissed,
Yeah.
But I think it grows on everyone. There was kind of a thing where the guy thought like, oh man, Grendel as Hunter Rose was so great. It was, he's the mob boss. And then it's like the jilted mother. And then it's the boyfriend. And they thought that the like Brian iteration was like unoriginal, but I think it's like perfect. It's like the death of the like personal Grendel for a long time, where it's like it devolved and it affected so many people, and then it's like the perfect ending to it because it was, it ended with a whimper instead of a bang. That it thought it was or something. So I don't know.
There's a letter from cartoonist Seth.
Very cool.
Who I guess was working on Mr. X, Dean Motter's Mr. X. I'm not sure. I was 4 years old at the time. But the letter before that from Elizabeth Holden from Ontario, I thought was really cool. I thought I'd read that if you don't mind.
Yeah, man.
Friends, as if the previous Grendel series weren't something special, you go and make this new phase another kind of creation entirely. I know that's the whole point. Each phase requires a new artist, a new place, a new gestalt, which is amazing in a medium where some characters stay the same for 50 years and then start all over being the same again. At first, I missed the Panda Brothers for some reason. Bernie Moreau's work didn't seem as compelling, as exciting, or as scary. And then I read number 14. Ha! This adds new meaning to the word scary. The scariest stuff is always within us. And knowledge is the most powerful force of all. He knows. This isn't so much a left brain, right brain stuff as primal antique dichotomy between chaos and order, consciousness and pre-consciousness, gripping.
Nice.
I thought that was a great letter. I mean,
Yeah.
why podcast when she says it all?
I know, right? Yeah, and Diana praises her there. She's one of the few Canadian female companions I had in various letters columns in the early 80s. And it's a pleasure to print her words here. That's great.
Oh, right. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
And then Seth writes in, I think it's just funny that like when we think of Seth now, it's this like drawn quarterly, like graphic novel. Gary Groth, get as far away from the superheroes as you possibly can. But here Seth is saying, I love this book. I can't wait to read it. You know, and he's friends with Joe.
Right.
But
I was
like,
gonna say, yeah.
it's funny where like in a landscape where it's, you know, X-Men and elves, and that's it, you know, and porn. Like
Right.
you go to this book to be like, okay, this is all these like graphic novel people are sort of gravitating. This is the one book that all these like you know, classy guys want to look at.
Yeah. I mean, it's really groundbreaking, because if your argument is like that this is like a quote unquote hero book or something like that, Matt is clearly doing something absolutely new and different. And so if you're like this underground creator trying to do something different with comics, Matt is in a way doing something completely different in somewhat the
shining a
field.
light.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, holy shit, you can do these hero books in a new and different way. And Matt is doing it in a way by showing this like thousands of years, as we said.
It's just like how Joe Matt was an integral part of this book, and has in the 30 years since has become synonymous with alternative graphic novel cartooning, you know,
right,
autobio stuff.
Right. And when you look at Joe Matt's work now, you're not like, oh man, I sure loved his coloring in the 80s. That would never even
My favorite Batman colorist.
Yeah, you would never think that.
Right.
Because he does mostly black and white work, you know? Interesting.
And I feel like if you were to spring that on, I have a friend and collaborator and neighbor who's a huge Joe Matt fan, and he's not a hero guy at all. And when I told him we're having Joe on, he's like, why is Joe on that? I said, oh, well, he colored, the entire thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
What? It's just funny. It's like, it's like someone you love as a guitar player and someone being like, man, I love their drumming. And you're like, what are you even talking about? Because it's kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum for you.
It's like John Mayer and Dead and Company.
Oh, don't even start. Dead and slow. I love that. You did tell me that.
There you go.
All right, cool. Did you hit up the Kamiko blimp or the hype pages at all?
Oh no. How's Geraldine Peck doing?
I mean, they changed the style up a ton.
Wow. I mean, this Ginger Fox image is awesome.
Yeah, there was an ad earlier too. I want to bust that out and get into
the
it.
Johnny Quest one is a little strange looking. Maybe this is it's Dark Johnny Quest.
Yeah, this is this is mirror universe Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen this Ginger Fox.
He's smoking a cigarette.
It's so the panders have changed so much. Like if Grendel looked like this, I would like it way more.
But this is them like being unleashed and free. So it's like,
This is the Mike Barron book, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Hell yeah. And even here, we can use this as the next week on. So next week on Grendel, on The Devil in Detail, Pope Elvis Aaron IV is dead. John Emmett Fairbanks, Cardinal of the Archdiocese of the LA Standard Entertainment and Recreational United Systems, Lazarus, wishes to be elected to that high office. There are just two problems. A drug, Lazarus, has begun to distribute that could have fatal side effects, and the personification of Lazarus's corporate symbol, Grendel. The Devil is ecclesiastical. The prequel to the new extended Grendel storyline is written by Matt Wagner, penciled in ink by Tim Sales and colored by Joe Matt.
Wow, that summary
Yeah.
is not what I remember at all.
Yeah.
In the one time that I read that story. What I do remember is I read it. I said, "This is an awesome issue."
Yeah. And we're getting into territory where neither of us really remember, and frankly, you haven't read at all, right?
No, we are returning to something I have
stuff you read, right?
for the
You
first
hadn't
time
read,
in 6 episodes.
Right. This issue I had not read before that I
Yeah, me
remember,
neither.
but who knows what you know.
Did
lot
you
of
so
life that I don't
so of the three, so like the next one, Ecclesiastical, is really a prequel
right
to God and the Devil,
and it was
It's in
re-released
that trade.
well, and it was re-released on Dark Horse as issue 0 for this run.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that means that we can sort of separate the 3 incubation issues that we've read on one side, and then Ecclesiastical with God and the Devil.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
what did you make of incubation in that sense? Like is this your favorite or what?
It's not necessarily my favorite, but in a storytelling, from a storytelling perspective, it's absolutely needed. It's 100% helpful to the progression of the story. It elucidates like this world that we now are encapsulated in, and it helped show like the historical progression of the Earth, this world that we think we know, to make it in. And I always make the joke, New York is the 3rd character in the movie or whatever, that the world that Grendel is in is a character, and the way it's changed affects every choice that our characters make now. So this was the incubation years is almost like the origin story to like the world that we now can't
and that we're going
understand
to be with
motivations
for the next. I mean, this is like we said it a few weeks ago. This is the turning point.
Absolutely.
But like we've only covered a third of the entire podcast project, right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
we're 2 omnibuses down, and there's 4 to go.
Right.
So it's all Orion, Paladin, Grendel tale, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, man.
From here on out, the entire rest of the series.
Right, exactly.
That.
Which is exciting to me. It's exciting.
Yeah.
I love the Grendel tale so very much.
Mm-hmm.
We'll need to figure out exactly how we want to add those in, like where they, because we're going timeline. So we need to figure out where they all fit in the timeline to figure out where we're gonna read them, I guess.
Yeah, just do it in omnibus order.
Okay, yeah. I get, well,
are you saying that that's not in chronological
I think that some of the
order?
Grendel tales take place during
Orion.
events during Orion's reign.
Right. The Steve Lieber one might actually be like that, I think.
So we'll have to figure out the exact timeline.
Okay.
Maybe it's in that Grendel cycle trade thing, the Grendel cycle book. Yeah. All right, cool, Ben. Amazing. Oh, sorry, dude. What did you think of the incubation years? What did you make of them?
Thank you for asking.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I think I said so much in the beginning in that I think that individually as stories, I can see how a reader in 1988 might be confused or I wouldn't say dissatisfied, but just like, where is this going? But with the benefit of hindsight, and also Matt straight up saying, this is going to be the structure for the next 4 months.
Right.
And this is where it's going. Like, this is my goal. He tells you what to be looking for, which I think is very smart,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's something that I value as a reader. Like, I don't want to be reading something and trying to figure out the puzzle blocks. If you can just tell me where my attention should be spent, like, tell me what the literary device is so that I can experience it the way you intended.
Yeah.
Instead of having to figure it out and sift through, like, is this important or is this important? What's author canon and what's head canon?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely crucial in the story, in the breadth of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we were able to attack them.
Here's what I'll also say. Every issue, though it's the same 3 visual 4 people working on the artboards, every issue is really different looking.
Absolutely.
Which I think is really cool.
Laid out differently, storytelling differently.
Bob Pinaha does an incredible job.
Yeah.
Like has way more to do. Although I'm pretty sure that he's not doing the glyphs.
Oh,
You know what I
right. You
mean?
think
The
it's
glyphs and the
Hannibal
tails.
or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. Yeah.
But I will say that the storytelling device that they use in the first one, where Joe is doing the Wiggins eye POV stuff,
That was
is
awesome.
probably like it is kind of like the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
In terms of innovation. So
Hell
they
yeah.
were good. I liked them.
Loved it. All right, cool. And we're heading deep into the religious, into the church stuff, and into the Epi Thatcher stuff, which people have been excited for. So until next week, Ben, vivat Grendel, and keep on Grendeling.
Take care, guys.